AI is such an exciting and emerging topic, and it's fantastic to see so many of you here today to learn more. VPNs and remote connections can hinder audio and video quality, so we recommend logging on outside of those connections. Again, we are recording this session. Please draw your attention to the chat and Q&A features, as we will use those features since all participants are muted within Zoom webinar. If you have a question for our presenter, please use the Q&A feature. We will answer those if appropriate as they come up, and we also have time at the end of this session. If you need technical assistance, please use the chat feature and select hosts or panelists, and we will help you as we can. I will turn the floor over to my colleague, Amy Domashek, who is a Program Development Manager here with the division.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session on Applied AI for Non-Technical Leaders. We appreciate your interest, curiosity, and attendance for this program. As Brittany said, my name is Amy Domashek. I'm a Program Development Manager for UW-Madison's Division of Continuing Studies, which is hosting today's free learning event. At the Division of Continuing Studies, our mission is to advocate for and engage lifelong learners through high-quality and innovative programs and services. We're pleased to engage you with this session here today. Brittany is here, as she said, to help with any technical difficulties. She'll be moderating chat and Q&A. Our session runs till 12:45 p.m. And just to reiterate, use Q&A to submit questions. We'll address them throughout if they are timely. Otherwise, we have time at the end. We are recording this, and we'll share the link afterwards, as well as some additional materials. Next. So today's webinar is a preview of content covered in the full course, Applied AI for Non-Technical Leaders. Coursework begins on September 9th and incorporates both self-paced learning and live sessions online. There's a QR code on your screen, so you can go ahead and use your phones. It'll take you to the course webpage, and we'll also throw a link of that in the chat for you. Next. I'm pleased to introduce our instructor for this webinar and the full course, Stacy Wilkes, founder of Goddess AI and AI Visionary. With a background rooted in data analytics and IO psychology, Stacy's career is a testament to her belief in AI's power to elevate society. At Goddess AI, she leverages her decade-long expertise to foster inclusive technological advancements and empower underrepresented groups. Through her role as an instructor, Stacy strives to inspire leaders to navigate the AI landscape with confidence and ethical integrity. Take it away, Stacy.
All right, thank you, Amy, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm Stacy Wilkes. So my journey professionally started in the realms of psychology research and data analysis, where I spent years immersed in academia and then government service. But in December 2022, everything changed for me. I saw the revolutionary capabilities of what AIs like ChatGPT were doing with language generation in particular. And it was just a game changer for me. It made me pivot everything. So I founded Goddess AI because I realized that the potential that AI has, not just in terms of efficiency, but as a transformative force for good, potentially, if we're careful about it. So at Goddess AI, we're passionate about teaching businesses how to integrate AI into their operations ethically and effectively. So as everyone's mentioned, Brittany mentioned, we're going to be taking most of the questions at the end, but throughout, if you want to type them into the Q&A feature, go for it. All right, so let's get started. So today we're going to explore how AI is not just a tool for tech experts, but a force that's reshaping every job in every industry. And so the key to harnessing this power is all in how you ask. So let's start by exploring what AI can actually do. You might be surprised to learn that AI's potential reach extends into nearly every sector that you can imagine. It's reshaping the way that we work in ways we could only dream of a few years ago. But let's bring it into a context that we can all understand, which is managing our daily tasks. And everybody here has a to-do list. And how often have you felt overwhelmed by a growing to-do list that you can't seem to get to the bottom of? Well, AI can help to streamline the tasks, making our lives a little bit easier, and that's how we're going to demonstrate it today. So today's session is just a preview of our full course, which is coming next month, where we're going to dive deeper into the practical applications. And after our session today, you will get emailed to you a downloadable handout that has all the prompts that we're going to be using today, so you can start integrating AI tools immediately after the session. All right, so let's get started with this common scenario. And this, by the way, if you just saw a tail fly past my face, this is Persephone. She, otherwise known as Bubba, she thinks I'm talking to her. So she's going to be trying to close my presentation for the entire presentation, but you'll see her maybe in the background too. So let's start with this common scenario. Imagine a person with social anxiety working in a high pressure environment, right? That's our person. And they are struggling to cope. In such a case, they might turn to AI for help using what we call a prompt. A prompt is essentially a question or a statement that we input into AI to get a specific response. So today we're going to dive into what's called prompt engineering, which is a fancy way of saying how to ask AI the right questions to get the most useful answers. And this is crucial because the quality of AI's response depends on how we frame our prompts. So I'm going to be demonstrating this today. Let me get this set up for you so you can see. I'm going to be demonstrating this today using Claude, which is over here, saying good morning. Some of the features that we're going to see today will show why I want to use Claude. And also it has a reputation for really robust safety standards. So it is my go-to because I'm so focused on ethical implementation of AI. However, the techniques that we'll discuss today can be used with any language generating AI. So with this original prompt, initial prompt that we've crafted, help me organize my tasks. My to-do list is getting longer every day and I can't seem to keep up. Let's input this into Claude and see what it says. So this is giving us a real-time look at we're going to be seeing a real-time look at how we can tweak our approach ever so slightly, and then it'll enhance the interactions with the AI technologies when we do that. So here's this initial response: prioritizing your task, break things down, use a task management tool, etc. It's not bad. Like, this is applicable for many people in many situations, so it's still useful, but it's very generic, and it doesn't really address the specific challenges that our user is facing. Remember, she's socially anxious. She's got a very high pressure job. And it doesn't really address those because we didn't mention it in the prompt. So this is our first response. I'm just going to save this in another window here so that we can come back to it later. This is our first response. All right. So the first tip that I will give you is to guide the AI to gather information from you. If there's one crucial skill that I could teach everyone as we increasingly interact with AI in our daily lives, everyone will need to know this. It's this skill. Learning how to direct the AI effectively can significantly enhance how it serves our needs. So here we go. This is that same original prompt again, but this time we're going to add in something to change it up a little bit. So we're starting from the same text that we had before and adding in this additional information to the prompt. So begin by asking me a series of questions that I can answer to get you all the information you need. So you can add this statement to any request in AI to get rich results. If you're having a hard time, this statement will break you out of that. It's a great way to start a conversation on a topic, or if you've got a brand new thing that you're using AI for, this is the place to start. So this strategy is very straightforward. We're prompting the AI to ask us questions, and this inversion helps the AI to collect necessary context from us to tailor its responses more effectively. The AI knows what data it needs to collect from you. It's you that doesn't know what to put into the prompt. So giving the AI the opportunity to lead the conversation can help to bridge that gap. So the AI will by default follow your lead. So you need to be really explicit in order to override that. So today I'm going to be, every time we tweak the prompt, I'm going to be opening up a new fresh conversation. And since we're talking about prompt design, I'm wanting to start fresh each time just for this demonstration. But keep in mind, when you're actually using AI, you're it has this memory. So you can just, if you're already getting the AI to have results that are close to what you're looking for, you can just keep going in this original conversation. So say I am this stressed out person, this list is good enough, but I'm needing to, I don't know, coordinate with my family member. You can just put down in the bottom here, I said, rewrite that for a 7-year-old, like just trying to explain, you know, the stress or just give it a different take. You can add pretty much any instructions at the bottom. So I'm not going to be doing it this way. So you can see, let's make your big list of things to do smaller and easier, right? So we could be doing it this way and just adding on to previous prompts, but it would just be too unwieldy for the demo. But keep in mind, this is how you're usually going to be using it. So let's start a new conversation though, just for this. And so here, asking me a series of questions. Okay. So see how the AI is now asking for more specific information. This is going to, so it's saying how many tasks you have, what types of tasks are on your list, do you have any tools or methods to organize your tasks? It's kind of crossing things off that it was ready to suggest to see what might be most helpful for this user's unique situation. So I ran a version of this prompt before and pulled in the questions. So the questions aren't exactly the same because AI is different every single time you generate it. It's infinitely creative. So the questions are a little bit different, but just for the purpose of illustration, the user can now, when they're writing a new prompt, they can include all of the questions. They can copy and paste the questions in and their answers with the rest of the prompt to create a much more complete prompt overall. So now this whole thing, questions and answers and everything, can get entered into a prompt. And you could also just answer those in line and you know, number your answers and just do it in the same conversation, or you can start a new conversation like this. So let's see how it does. All right, so it picked a digital tool. And then so here, this is a cool thing I was hoping that Claude would do. It has this wonderful feature where it will create the document for you and make this little downloadable file that you can download. And then in the background, it'll just also tell you the explanation behind the document. So you can download it without downloading the explanation. You can just target the specific helpful thing. So what a big difference this is to just including these details can make a big difference. And if I was this user, if I followed this plan to the letter, I'm sure that I would feel so much more on top of my to-do list. So now let's go to the next tip. Okay, the next tip I have for you is to provide rich, relevant context. So what does that mean? So I'll show you. So here we are again, back at the original prompt. Now let's add in some more context. Putting it into practice, I'll show you how we can put comprehensive context into AI. So here, this time we're skipping the questions. We're not answering and asking questions. We're just going to give it all the context we think it needs right from the start. So I'm feeling overwhelmed at work. I'm frequently dealing with interruptions, multiple deadlines, struggling with personal tasks. My job is a mix of different types of work. I'm balancing work with professional commitments, and I need a structured approach to reduce my stress levels. So all kinds of additional important details that are being added in here. And now, to be honest with you, this right here is how many of my personal chat conversations with AI starts, especially if I've ever in the past done a similar conversation where I asked it to ask me questions, and I know I have an idea of what kind of information it's looking for at this point. So really, I'm just speaking from the heart when I do this, and I'm explaining really honestly what's deep down my concerns and needs, because it can be very stream of consciousness. Like, you don't have to be a coder to use AI. This is language. So let's see what it comes up with. So again, this whole thing is the prompt. I'm copy and pasting the whole thing over. And you can see now it's starting out with this empathetic statement. It becomes a lot more specific and helpful once we give it so much relevant context, comprehensive context. So this is detailing the importance of detailed inputs when working with AI. So here you can see it's got just step-by-step, one at a time, all different kinds of ideas that somebody could be using. And again, these are really targeted, from somebody who has been in this situation before. Like, I could see that this would really help if I was there now. All right. My next tip for you is to be explicit and specific in your instructions. So let's go back to that original prompt. Here we are. Now we're going to add something more specific and explicit in the instructions. So create a detailed step-by-step plan for prioritizing and completing my tasks, taking into account my social anxiety and high-pressure work environment. So remember, since I'm starting a new conversation each time, I'm bringing up the social anxiety. I'm giving it that context every single time. But if we're in the same conversation, you don't have to keep reminding it of the details. I'm just doing it here because it's a fresh conversation. So our next strategy is focusing on the clarity in our instructions. We're not just asking for like help. We're guiding the AI to create a detailed step-by-step plan. And then by being more explicit, we are allowing the AI to generate responses that aren't just precise, but also tailored to the specific needs that are outlined. So let's try that one. This one, every time I've run it in the past, has been my favorite. So let's see how it goes. And I think it's because it's helpful for me to say, just wipe everything off and just start with step number 1, right? Consolidate your tasks. I like this method. Yeah, because it is so systematic and you can just go step by step. So a great plan. And so look at how much more detailed, tailored, actionable that this response is. By being so explicit with what we want the AI to do, we've guided the AI to provide a plan that's really useful for our user's specific situation. So now let's do another tip. My next tip for you is to ask it for multiple options or approaches. Give yourself something to pick from. So here's that original prompt again. We're starting in the same place every time. This time, we're adding. Provide 3 different approaches to task management, each suitable for someone with social anxiety and a high pressure job. So again, that context is added in. Sometimes one solution just isn't enough. And by asking multiple options, we are giving the user the chance to choose the approach that resonates most with them. And again, every time I've just noticed, anytime I do mention the social anxiety, AI always opens with empathy. It's just so nice. I'm trying to learn from it.
Stacy, there is a burning question and now my brain can't get past it. Does it help when you bold those words in your prompts?
I think so. So I have only bolded them because it's in the presentation. And so they're bolded just for that reason. I don't think that it's reading those, but I have not tested it out. I don't know if it's reading the formatting necessarily.
Thank you.
So we are asking for 3 different versions. And so it gave us 3 different productivity techniques, which is what we asked for. So Eisenhower matrix, Pomodoro technique, and Kanban board method. All of them really helpful. If I really like to resonate with one or the other, I could say down below, I could say, okay, let's go with the Pomodoro technique, guide me through that or something. And so the user is able to evaluate the different approaches, select the one that feels the most manageable for them in the moment, given their current work pressure and anxiety. And then this one's fun. So this is a fun tip that I have found surprisingly applicable, is assign a character or a role to the AI to take on for very tailored responses. I'll show you what that might look like here. So here's again that original prompt. But this time we're adding, respond as if you are various members of a team of compassionate productivity coaches and experts who specialize in helping professionals with anxiety. So by assigning a type of character or role to the AI, we can shape the tone and perspective of its response. And this is very helpful for users who might benefit from a specific type of support or a specific expert. And so this is how I, from the privacy and seclusion of my own apartment, can crowdsource some advice. There's a lot of personal situations where you might just really want to know a few different expert opinions. You know, I could imagine home ownership. You might want to just ask around for different opinions on what to do. And there's also lots of professional situations where you might be able to use this. Like I have been in many rooms, especially working in government, where you're wondering what someone or a stakeholder group out who isn't present, who isn't represented in the room might say about the topic. And there's just no way. A decision has to be made and you just have to make it in a pinch. So this will work if you need to just sort of simulate the number of people in the room and make sure that you're considering people that aren't even there. And in this case, so notice too, that when I did this, I said to include a team of experts. So I could have just said, respond as if you're a productivity coach, and that would have given me just one answer. But by asking for a few different perspectives, and I didn't specify, it picks. So look, it says a time management specialist, a psychologist, a productivity systems expert. It'll pick these for me. And so this approach right here that I've done is actually combined to the last one where I asked for several options with this one, which is ask it to take on a role by saying take on several roles. And that will help it to really generate all those views at once and create a holistic view of your situation. So here we've got Coach Sarah. It is even giving them names. And this is just very fun. And I have found in government work, stakeholder groups, or you know, any group, anytime marketing, I'm sure you're trying to imagine what a certain type of person might react. Very helpful. So notice also how the tone of these responses really differ from the previous ones. This one's very supportive, very understanding, and which can be really helpful for our user who's suffering from social anxiety in general. Okay, so finally, ideally, in an ideal world, we're just pasting in to AI examples of what we want the AI to help us to create. So you'll notice we started with, I've never really talked to AI about this topic before, and now we've gone all the way, you know, I don't really know what the results should look like, and we've gone all the way to, I know exactly what I want, and in fact, I've already done this in the past, so please just replicate my work or take work that I've started and progress it. So we're going to be pasting in our to-do list here, which makes sense. So here's that original prompt. And then here's an example of my current to-do list. Please reorganize this list and explain your method. So this final strategy is to show, not just tell. By providing a concrete example, we give the AI something specific to work with. So let's see how it does. All right, so starting out with that method. It did it again, good. So see how AI has taken our example and really improved on it. So we asked for it to reorganize it and explain the method. And so it looks like it took a urgency approach to the to-do list. It divided things up into those 4 quadrants about urgency and importance. So this really gives our user a practical, immediately applicable solution based on their actual tasks. And there's another common example of this. If you are a person who is concerned that when you're using AI to write your emails or other writing, that it doesn't sound like you, make sure that you are starting to gather samples of your writing when you're writing the way you want to sound, so that you can then give AI those samples later to emulate later. So find some examples of what you want to sound like, look through your emails, find your shining moments, and start saving those and having them on hand, because it'll come in handy later when you're trying to get it to sound like you. So then let's take a moment then. So that's our last tip, but let's take a moment to compare where we ended up to where we started. So remember, we saved that initial conversation here and if you'll notice, the difference is very striking. So the prompt is very different. It's got a lot more information in it, but then the results are just a totally different format, all different content. The version on the left is a lot more boilerplate and could apply to many different situations, which can be very helpful. It also contains instructions for the prioritizing work rather than prioritizing the list itself. It's telling the user they should prioritize. Whereas the version on the right, the one we ended up with, it already did it. It's very specific to the user's needs and ready for them. Okay, so now while we're focusing on how to effectively communicate with AI, it is crucial to take a moment and consider the ethical dimensions of these interactions. Every prompt that we design and every response that we analyze is not just about efficiency, it's also about responsibility. So as we're moving forward, especially in the upcoming course next month, we're going to dive deeply into this ethical framework that should guide all of our AI interactions. And this includes privacy, which is safeguarding the data, making sure we're not putting anything personal in there. Accuracy, regularly checking that the AI's outputs are correct and reliable. Transparency and accountability, being sure that AI is used for responsible outcomes. And avoiding bias, making sure that the AI doesn't perpetuate existing biases or create new ones. And so understanding and addressing these 4 pillars, privacy, accuracy, transparency, and avoiding bias, is going to be key to using AI not just effectively, but ethically and sustainably. So what have we learned today? This is the key strategies that we've explored. So we're going to be guiding the AI to gather information from us. We're providing rich, relevant context. We are being very explicit, very specific with what we want. We're asking it for multiple approaches, giving us some options to pick from. And we're assigning roles and characters for fun or to, boost up representation for folks not in the room. And also we are going to be looking for very concrete examples of what we want. If we really want it to do something specific, don't just describe it, give it an example, just paste it in. So these best practices are directly drawn from this research study, recent study published in Nature Human Behavior this year. If you are interested in delving deeper into how to write these effective prompts and some of the research behind these suggestions, then I highly recommend checking out this article that's cited here. By implementing these techniques, you can dramatically enhance the quality and relevance of AI-generated responses, making AI a more effective and indispensable tool in your professional toolkit. So I encourage everyone to consider how you can integrate these strategies into your professional life. Remember, the effectiveness of AI largely depends on the clarity and precision of your input. You shape the technology with every prompt you craft. Right. And now we're ready for questions.
Thank you, Stacy. I think one of the burning questions in the room right now is, what is Claude? Where do you find it? And can I access a free version?
Sure. So Claude is just a competitor to ChatGPT. It's another one that's out there. It is the one that I use in all my demonstrations because the features are great, and really it's because the security is so high. The Anthropic is the company that produces Claude, and they have really made it their brand that they are working on passing regulatory guidelines and that kind of thing. So I really honestly, I knew I should use Claude because it's better, more safer to use. And I'm focusing so much on safety that I was so surprised when I started actually really heavily using it and found it to be just so effective. It can handle huge documents, which for me is a huge pro. So Claude, it does have a free option. I have found most AIs, you should be looking at, in general, I really highly suggest, if you have, cancel a streaming service and get an AI if you need it, because the paid version is $20 a month and it is much better than the free one. But the free one is there and it will work for you. It's just got a lot more caps. So pick one. I suggest investing in a paid version because the difference is substantial, and you might just get really frustrated if you don't.
Thank you. I am going to share this question because I have felt similarly apprehensive, and I'm new to AI. I'm of an older generation. Why do I want AI to write emails for me that sound like me? Wouldn't it be better if I just write them myself?
Question. So I am a person who believes that in the future, so imagine right now a workplace where half of the people are using AI really regularly and half of the people are not using it at all. The people that are using it, and this is happening quite a bit now, like this might be happening at your workplace. The people that are using AI are going to be responding to every email within 5 minutes. You would not believe the number of follow-up emails that I have sent in the past 2 years because of that I would not normally have sent if it weren't for AI. I have found that I am able to do so much more. And so the thing is, if you don't personally want that for yourself, that's fine. Just be aware that like in the workplace, it is going to, as time goes on, that the difference of people is going to change, and you're going to be expected to, in the future years, we're going to be expected to produce things at the pace of AI. So really, like, I'm coming into this as a reality of, holy cow, it's here, it's widely available for free. We've got to use this if we can in the most responsible possible way. Now, that said, I really do believe, and this will be a centerpiece in my class, that if you're using AI in your communications really heavily, you need to make sure that you're transparent about that at some point. And AI has a bunch of really great ways to just put that in the email. So I like to say, mention in my email somewhere that I'm using AI, especially if it's someone who doesn't know that I'm already doing that. Then it'll say, due to this time of increased correspondence, we're using AI a lot to write our communications or something like that. That's the best that I've come up with so far. I think in the future, there will be new social norms that will come in, and it'll be very normal to see, oh, this one's an AI email, this one's not an AI email, and it'll be clear for us to distinguish between the two. But yeah, I really do believe in transparency, while at the same time, communication, getting things across in the way that you would want it to, is also just important. So it's going to be a balancing act for all of us.
A lot of people are wondering, how do I implement this in my workplace? Do you have a suggestion for an AI tool that can handle voice interaction?
Voice interaction, the only one that I've seen that works, are you talking like do they mean customer service, like can be client facing, or are they just looking to have an out loud conversation with AI?
I think if you want to touch on each of those, the question is very broad.
So if you are just looking to have a conversation with something that sounds very human-like, ChatGPT does have that option. There's probably others available as well. Just past summer, I was on a website, then the name, of course, escapes me, something with the number 8 in it. And I uploaded a couple clips, about 20 minutes of me speaking. I could upload this recording, for example. And I was able to generate my own voice speaking to me in 10 different languages. And it's just blown my mind ever since I saw that. So the AI is able to speak very human-like, and it can even sound like you if you want it to. So those are definitely out there. If you're looking for something that's supposed to be client-facing, I don't really have a recommendation for that just yet. I'm mostly just working with these kinds of systems that are language-generating AI. But I'm sure in the future it's going to be available.
So a lot of people are wondering what the full course will be like at this point. Will they be dabbling in Claude and GPT, and what, kind of, can you touch on some more of the class details?
Yes. So this class is going to be, I'm just so excited for this class. We are going to be covering, at first we'll talk about kind of the background of AI, what it is. We'll talk about those 4 ethical principles that I introduced here in a great deal of depth. And then we'll use a whole bunch of case studies to sort of explore those principles. So that's kind of the first half of the class, is really about like understanding what AI is, getting your hands in there a little bit and trying it out. and just exploring it from that lens. And then the second half of the class is going to be a pretty big shift into AI strategy. The second half of the class, we're talking about how can you identify, and you were mentioning this just a second ago, it's showing up at the questions. I'm going to show you how to use AI in order to identify opportunities for using AI, which is like a meta thing. And then you'll use AI to look at those opportunities and generate pros and cons so say you're operating a small business as a retailer, you got a little shop. You might be looking at marketing, different types of audiences might want different types of things. You might be looking at customer loyalty programs. You might be looking at customer reviews online, looking for themes and things to change. You might be looking at individual training programs for each one of your new hires, customized training programs for their learning style. We might be looking at that. So really, there's a lot of different opportunities depending on the field. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at the pros and cons of different types of AI implementation, just to make sure that you're using it in a way that you can be really proud of and it's going to stand the test of time.
I'd like to take a second and just thank everybody for the fantastic questions. We had a lot of questions delve into specific UW policy, and I would encourage you to reach out to your technology administrator in your department for more guidance on allowable usage.
I know a lot of places are kind of catching up now with developing some of those policies. And it's just one of those things where it's you can't stop it. It's got to come. So if you don't yet have a policy in your organization, it might be really a good idea to encourage folks to get a team going to create such policies. Start training your employees on how to use AI in a way that's acceptable for the company. If you're in that position, because if your employees are unsure on what's allowed, then they will find a way to use AI, because the efficiency gains are so strong that you just can't keep it out. So I really recommend coming up with a policy for that, but I don't know anything about the UW's policy.
We'll take one more question here before we close. And this is more of a comment, but I find it very striking because one of our learners says years ago they needed to edit maybe 80% of the outputs, and now they're finding that that's maybe 20%. Stacy, do you feel like outputs have improved that much that you'd see those numbers?
Yeah, totally. Depending on the number of years. So I've been working in AI by accident for, I've been working in the field for like 7 years. I've had experience with this, and I did not think that we were going to get where we are today in my lifetime. Like, I really thought that this was still science fiction, to be able to do this, what I've shown you today, without any brain work, without any of my brain having to do this, to generate this. I thought that this was not going to happen. So yeah, I think it is amazing. Like, I agree. You can kind of mess with some of the settings and say, to be more and less creative. And so when I mess with the settings in the background sometimes, and I say I want it really, really creative, then I found the best responses and the worst responses there. So that's one thing to kind of explore, is like, it'll take a kind of a wild shot, but sometimes that wild shot is just exactly what I was looking for. And, but it is more error prone. But the more you put into your prompt, the more specific that you are, the more you use these guidelines, the less you'll have to do the editing of your output. But remember, no matter how good you get, and no matter how good AI gets, you need to be responsible for that output. You are the person who is responsible for what the AI is, what you're putting out there. So make sure you're reading every single word of that output, just in case, and have maybe another set of eyes on it too.
Thanks again, Stacy. Let's turn the floor back over to Amy, and we'll go ahead and close out with some of the full class details.
Stacy, do you mind putting us in a full screen mode Thank you. So yeah, thank you very much to Stacy for guiding us through these examples on all the different ways you can converse with AI. Really appreciate the skills-based information that we received today. As a reminder, you're going to receive a link to the recording of this session as well as some materials in a follow-up email. We invite you to register for the full course, Applied AI for Non-Technical Leaders. And here you see just a few of the course's learning objectives on your screen. And again, QR code there, it'll take you right to the course webpage and the registration page. So we'd love to continue this educational conversation with you in the full course. Just want to acknowledge our team at DCS for supporting and marketing and production of this webinar, and that we really appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. So on behalf of UW-Madison's Division of Continuing Studies, best wishes to you for the rest of your day.